over a quarter century ago, commenced one of the most exciting and extensively studied games of chess. A game so wild, a record-holding 202-page book was required to capture the excitement of the 62-move game. Stretching from early summer to Halloween, the 4-month game was a near-perfect example of attacking chess, filled with high-level tactics, an insane endgame, and some questionable methods. The antagonist of this story is one of the goats of chess. Known for his fierce competitive spirit, intimidating presence, and unparalleled strategic genius, this 6-time world champion accepted an innovative challenge. Garry Kasparov, the world champion, played against the entire world. And by the world, I mean about 0.0008% of the world's population at the time, a group of over 50,000 players from 75 different countries. But hey, that's a pretty good turnout. Garry Kasparov admitted to spending more time with this game than he had any other game in his lifetime. Determined to prove his greatest of all-time status, he went to every length possible to get an edge over his unfair opponent, obsessing over every move. This game was not the first or last of its kind, but it was the greatest success due to a number of additions to the previous failures. 4 strong chess players, 16-year-old GM Etienne Bacrot, 19-year-old Florin Felicon, 14-year-old Elizabeth Pates, and the MVP of the match, 15-year-old Irina Krush, were given greater influence over the moves by being given the opportunity to present an analysis and move suggestion to the voters. The format was such that Garry, moving first with white, was given 12 hours to play his move. The team of analyzers were then given 12 hours to prepare their analysis. The world team was then given 18 hours to discuss, debate moves, and submit their votes. The next 6 hours were used to validate the votes before repeating the process. The game began with the Moscow variation of the Sicilian, an atypical choice for Kasparov, which surprised many. He later explained that he didn't want to reveal any of his opening prep to his rivals before the World Championship match, so he went with a less popular and more passive move, trading off the bishops early. Following good chess principles, White threw his pawns to the center, creating space for his pieces to develop to powerful squares, while also limiting Black from doing so. Pawn pushes like d5 and b5 are nearly impossible here for Black. However, White's c and e pawns are somewhat unprotected and stagnant. This position had been seen multiple times and was accepted as a strong opening in its time. Typically, Black castles and a long attacking middle game ensues. But with 12 hours time available for analysis, the team considered a lot more than simply castling. The world had nothing to lose in this game, and were ready for a fight. They needed to create an attack with real winning chances. After considering several moves, Irina Krush suggested a never-before-played move that would do just that. A move that caused the world champion to later admit that he lost control of the game and wasn't sure whether he was winning or losing. Though only 15 years of age, Krush had won the U.S. Women's Chess Championship the year before and would go on to win 7 more times. 2 years after this match, in 2001, she would officially earn the Grandmaster title. After significant debate, Krush's move won the vote. Questioning the integrity of White's pawn, pushes, queen to e6 forks the vulnerable c and e pawns. And while the position is still equal, according to the engine, this move starts posing problems and, as will be seen, creates imbalances on the board that lead to an exciting game. In fact, this move was so novel and influential that even though already 10 moves into the game, this position was reached in a Masters game 2 months later, and several more times over the next year. In fact, the world champion himself faced this exact position again in 2009, though he was much more prepared that time around, and it has been played as recently as 2018. Recovering from his initial shock, White found the correct move, exploiting the uncastled king's weakness to regain some momentum. White got a rook, stacked Black's b-pawns, and stole Black's castling rights. Black got 2 pawns, a knight, an open h-file, and a small lead in development. The brilliance of this move spoke to Irina's skill and creativity on the chessboard and won her the favor of many of the voters. So much so that the voters picked her recommendation for over 2/3 of the moves in that game. However, the equal yet unbalanced game remains undecided. The world champ masterfully seeks to take away any of Black's advantages with a4, closing down the h-file, and exploits Black's weaknesses by attacking the doubled pawns. Again, having reached a critical position, there was great debate on how to handle the position. The b-pawn, realistically beyond saving, was given up and the world, continuing a streak of aggressive moves, played the committal f5. Black claimed more space and gave White the opportunity to claim his pawn, seeing compensation in their advanced position compared to White's stagnant pieces. White intelligently delayed capturing the pawn to create an attack using the now weakened g5 square. Scared of Black's strong central pawn army and wanting to create counterplay, White denies the queen trade and infiltrates Black's side of the board. Again, given the option of passive play, with rook to h8 and a more aggressive attack, the world chooses exciting chess by trading pawns and opening passed pawns for both sides. In an extremely asymmetrical position, both sides finally agree to trade queens and enter an unclear endgame where both sides have pawns ready to promote. After exercising great endgame technique, both sides promote a pawn at the exact same time. However, White had to sacrifice some material to do so and is now down a pawn. The problem for the world is that White's pawn is much closer to promotion. In an extremely complex queen endgame, the world found an answer to every question Gary asked. That was until move 58. A position that few are capable of understanding, including the champ himself, who thought he had a forced win. The world needs to find the move queen to f5 in order to stay in the game. And luckily for the world, high school genius Irina Krush's analysis of the position led to that exact move. She sent her recommendation to the team for voting. Yet, somehow, somewhere in the 20th century technology, there was a mysterious email mix-up. Krush's email was not received on time, and voting proceeded without it. Two of her colleagues recommended playing the second best, but flawed move queen to e4. In a final despairing move, the world chose to play qe4 with a 49% to 44% majority. Knowing the game was lost, the world chose to go down in style with a final, dramatic gesture, a kamikaze move sacrificing the queen. As awesome a way to go down as it was, the hosts of the game vetoed the vote, citing ballot stuffing, and offered the option of an honorable resignation, which was initially denied. However, just a few moves later, Gary announced the chess engine Deep Jr. had spotted a forced mate in 28. Soon after, the world accepted the loss. But wait a minute. Kasparov announcing the engine evaluation seems to suggest that he was using the engine analysis throughout the game, at least referencing it in his analysis. Now, we must remember that this was 1999, and chess AI at the time was no stockfish. But we must also remember that he played Deep Blue in a series of 6 matches in 1997 and lost, marking the first time a chess AI successfully beat a world champion. So the engines at the time were at least as good as him. The chess AI was revolutionary and novel in this time, and restrictions of its use in play were not yet common, though it would obviously not be allowed in any sort of classical game setting. It was common practice in the time to reference the engine to verify the analysis of a position, and may have been used on both sides of the match. Additionally, confirming the suspicions of many world team participants, Kasparov later confessed to reading the discussion of the team on their forum. He said, "Of course, I used it to my advantage to look around and follow the discussion on MSN.com about the game." While reading the forum was not explicitly stated as a condition of the match, it feels somewhat wrong to be reading the opposing team's playbook. Kasparov had the opinion of the world's analysis on what his strongest response would probably be, and he was able to identify the shortcomings in their understanding. It led to several moves where Kasparov was able to play a response that was never considered by the team and served as a massive curveball in the game. While the world champ won the game without breaking any rules, it seems that the title Kasparov of Verse the World may be an inaccurate description of the game, as he was not playing using his mind only. His history shows his tenacity and desire to win is so strong that he is willing to push boundaries to the limit to ensure his victory. In the end, however, the world champion gave a compliment to the world saying, I think that the world deserves to make a draw. The next year, he published a 202-page book about the game, claiming the world record for the longest analysis of a single chess game. This game was not the last of its kind, and while it becomes more and more difficult to hold an honest competition of this magnitude and weight due to the strength of the modern chess engine, we have a chance to revive a more casual version of the game. The Commoners Guild is a new chess club accepting chess players of all levels to join in an epic battle against the chess celebrities of our day. To see how this will be possible, watch the video on the screen and linked below. In sum, we hope to form an alliance of the greatest magnitude to become a formidable chess force. When our numbers have swelled sufficiently, we will challenge high-profile opponents of our choosing to an epic match of vote chess. Our team will perform a serious analysis of each position in the game and garner a discussion that will enlighten us all in hopes to make a competitive game for our opponent using our average minds. If you are interested, please join the club using the link below or look up the Commoners Guild on chess.com. Help us increase our numbers and strength by inviting a friend to join our cause as well. Thank you for your time.